Hello everyone and welcome to week 8. So this week we're going to talk about arrays, and we will talk about this in class on the 14th, but right now we're going to just kind of do a video so you have something to go off of what we talked in class. So in this chapter we're going to talk about, or this week we're going to talk about declaring arrays, initializing an array, use variable subscripts with an array, declare and use arrays of objects, search an array and use parallel arrays, and pass arrays to return arrays from methods. But in this first chapter, or this first illustration, we're going to kind of basically talk about the basis of what an array is, what it can do, and so forth. So let me find my demo here. All right, before we start actually looking into the code about arrays, I've come up with a couple diagrams. I wanted to kind of show you basis of what a container looks like and so forth. So an array, think of it starting off as a container. So we have this container, it kind of looks like a film strip of UC36 slides. So container is kind of like, it's just like Java. It holds information that we've discussed before. So this is nothing new that we're learning right here. So this is a container, and it's just like anything else. It could be a toy box that holds information. So the next thing we'll talk about is the actual index of that array. So the index, as you see here, here's the container. Now each of these containers, or these are called elements, these boxes right here hold a value. So each value you have an array is like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As we know in Java development, in any development, the number always starts at 0 and works its way up or down, wherever the case is. Now, when you talk about the elements, it shows you right here, these are elements. So around here is just your container, and these little boxes or windows are called your elements, and below that is your values of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so forth. So when we're developing an array, we have to think that way, because right now if we use like a string value, we know that a string, integer, or a double, for example, only holds one value. But an array is just basically, think of it as a simple container that allows us to list multiple values, like you have here, 0 through 5. And you could go even higher than that. And it allows us to access values by pointing to an index or an ID that we could grab values at. As you see on the screen here, I have something I had set up before this, and we'll go through how to come up with this. But as you see in the example here, we have index 0, array value stealers, index value number 1, mountaineers, and so forth. So think of this as these IDs, or we could just call them get the ID, and the ID will provide us the value versus grab the whole entire value, and so forth. So let's go ahead and write an array program. So we have week 8 for our package. Again, click a new class, and in this demonstration, like we said before, is we're just going to do a lot of easy stuff. We'll do kind of within our console, and then we'll apply what we learned from our console into our swing, which is a little bit bigger. So we'll call it Java array. Well, let's just call it my first array. And then we select a public static void as normal. Alright, so this is what we're going to do first. Is come down here, and we're just going to initialize our array. So we're going to do an int, and a bracket, a close and open bracket. So this guy right here is basically container. Alright, so that's our container. We're not going to store it like that because that won't work. So this is our container right here. And we'll call it a value. So we'll say my array equals, and then we'll do the open and close brackets like we've already been doing. Now in this container here, we're going to say, hey, let's put values in there. So we'll put 3, 5, we're going to use integer, 6, 2. All right, and then we close it. Pretty simple stuff there. So normally if we're writing a single value would be int number equals 1. What we can't do is we can't go int number 2 equals 1, 2, 1. Look, it doesn't know what to do with that because it's just only able to hold one value. So an array allows us to hold as many values as we want. So what we're going to do next is we need to do, let's put some comments here, declare and initialize Guys, I can't spell word crap. Array. So we're declaring and declaring array. So now we need a oops. Oh, geez. We need to get array values. And how do we do that? We need a for loop. Now, that's something we haven't really discussed. We haven't talked about loops in this class yet. I think in chapter, looking real quick here, maybe chapter 9 is advanced, but eventually we will talk about loops. Kind of skimming through the book to see what chapter. So we can kind of consolidate this a little bit. Let's see here, chapter. 1 second, 6. Oh, okay. Chapter 6 we talked about looping, so maybe this week we'll include chapter 6 for looping. We'll include loops and arrays in this week's class. So it'll be a consolidated class of loops and arrays. So it'll be a lot of information to obtain. But nonetheless, we'll pretend that we've already did the loop section. All right. So for loops, a for loop is needed. All right. So let's do for int I. We'll declare our integer as I. We initialize it at 0, and then we close it. And now we're going to say I, which is 0, is less than my array. So we're saying, hey, if it's less than my array, we're going to hit dot. We're going to do length. Remember before I said on the board last week, we talked about when we're looking for a value to see if a value is typed in there, you have two options. You can see if the string has double quotes in it and it has a blank value, or I said you could take the object.length and see right off the bat if the value is greater than 0, then you know that someone typed something in here. So this is basically what they're doing. So we're going to close that out, and then we're going to do the I++. Basically allows us to add on to it. All right, so now what we need to do is we're just going to do basic system.out.println, and we'll say array values. And just all the stuff that we're doing now is the stuff that we've already learned. So we're just going to do, what's our array value? My array. And close it. If we run it, oh, let's see here, values plus, that's wrong. Hold on, let's see what we have to add here. All right, so as you see here, I have a kind of weird stuff here. Okay, I see what I forgot to do. So I just put my array, but which is not going to give us a value. We need the I, because when it loops through and uses integer, so what we need to do is do a bracket I, bracket, this should fix it, and this will get our index values. And if we run it, there we go, array values plus 3, plus 6, plus 6, and so forth. Well, we don't need to have plus there, but you get the idea. It's giving you those values based off of, you know, what's good is, let's say that you're, you have something like I mentioned on the board. Let's say you have a grid view. All right, here's a good example. You have this grid view, and you have the values ID. Let's use pipes for example, and let's say, well, let's put these here. Let's say ID, and then we have, oops, we're just kind of throwing something out there. There's our pipes, and then we'll say last name. Okay. All right. So if you had, in this case down here, we'll use these index values. So we'll say we have 2, we have Seaman, and then we have 3, oops, and we have Williams, and we have another value that we have there is 5, and we have Smith, and other value we have there is 6, and we have Senko. All right, so we have those values. So we have our grid view. We have Seaman, Williams, Smith, and Senko, and they all have an ID assigned to them. So what would happen is when we actually pull our values, like right here, 3, we could say that, hey, you know what? Instead of giving us an index ID, give us the name, that last name, which then it'll pull up Williams, and then so forth. You just go down the line. All right, so let's leave that like that. So now let's create a a value that includes a string as well. So we want to create a string instead of integer. So what can we do? We come down here and type in, let's put here, declare, 1 second, we'll declare a string value and initialize. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll do string, and we'll do my strings equals, and we'll do our brackets. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use quotation marks. So we're going to put all the different campuses that CCAC has. So we'll do North Campus. They have Boyce. Let's see here. They have oh geez, what is the name of it? We'll just say West Hills. And then we'll do another one. We'll do the South Hills. What's that? West Mifflin. Don't know if that's what they call it. So we do that information there, and then we need to close it. So we're storing our values. The only difference that we're going to do here is we're going to comment this out for a second. We're going to come down here and do system.out.println. We're going to say array values. Same thing that we did down there. We're going to do plus. We're going to do my strings. And then you're going to put the I in there. You're going to close it. And then you're going to run it and see what happens. Look at that. Array values, North, Boyce, West Hills, West Mifflin. Now, we could put our index value in there as well. Let's go back to that integer one. Or actually, let's see here. We could do, let's see here. We could say, okay. We could say at index, and then do a quotation there. And do plus I plus array values. So what we're looking to do here is not only get North, Boyce, West, and West Mifflin, we want to get that actual number tied to it. So if we hit run, all right, let's see here. We got it, but as you see here, I have 0 array value. So what we need to do is kind of separate that a little bit, give it some space. It'd be helpful if I add the space. And let's see if that works now. All right, at index 0 array values North. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Now this goes back to what I had showed you in the element thing. So if we go into our element container and look at it here, as you see here, 0 would be North, 1 would be Boyce, 2 would be West Hills, and 3 would be West Mifflin. In our demo, we could add 2 more and so forth. But it just kind of gives you an example of how a basic array works. And we'll talk about this in class, but I wanted you to have a tutorial to refer back on as a reference point. All right, well, thank you for sitting in on video number one talking about arrays.